Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, let me start with the prayers, and then we'll get to the title or topic today. It's verse 2, 8, 22, second canto, 8th chapter, verse 22. And I'll also share my screen. Before that, the prayers. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टां स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपादकमलं श्रीवैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपसाग्रजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे हरे कृष्ण. Let me share the words. Let me start with reading the words first. योवानुषायिनां सर्ग पाषण्डस्य च सम्भवः आत्मनो बन्धमोक्षौ च व्यवस्थानं स्वरूपतः योवानुषायिनां सर्ग पाषण्डस्य च सम्भवः आत्मनो मोक्षौ च व्यवस्थानं स्वरूपतः. Synonyms. Yeah, all those were either anushayinam, merged into the body of the Lord, sarga, creation, ashandasya, of the infidels, cha, and sambhava, appearance, atmana, of the living beings, bandha, conditioned, moksha, being liberated, cha, also, vyavasthanam, being situated, swarupata, in an unconditioned state. Translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please also explain how, merged into the body of the Lord, living beings are created, and how the infidels appear in the world. Also, please explain how the unconditioned living entities exist. Purport. A progressive devotee of the Lord must inquire from the bona fide spiritual master how living entities merged in the body of the Lord again come back at the time of creation. There are two kinds of living entities. There are the ever liberated unconditioned living beings as well as the ever conditioned living beings. Of the ever conditioned living beings, there are two divisions. They are faithful and infidels. Of the faithful, Again, there are two divisions, namely devotees and mental speculators. The mental speculators desire to merge into the existence of the Lord or to become one with the Lord, whereas the devotees of the Lord keep the desire to separate entities and constantly engage in the service of the Lord. The devotees who are not fully purified, as well as the empiric philosophers, become conditioned again during the next creation of for further purification. Such conditioned souls become liberated by further progress of devotional service to the Lord. Maharaj Parikshit asked all these questions from the bona fide spiritual master in order to become fully equipped in the science of God. So, this is in continuation with the questions that Maharaj Parikshit is asking his spiritual master. And all these questions are very powerful questions, difficult questions. So, let's try and understand. So, some part of it uh, is because of some lectures that I heard and some articles that I read on this particular verse by different people. So that is where I and speak about. So in this particular verse, there are three questions. First is how in the body of the Lord living beings are created. So that is the first question. So so we have heard and we have seen in Bhagavatam that when Lord Brahma is sleeping, which is his night time, then also living entities they go into that merging on the body of the Lord, even at the time of annihilation that happens. And then they all get created when the day of Lord Brahma starts. So the question is, how are they created? Now, what we have heard or what we know is that creation of all these living entities and the different bodies that they get is because of their past karmas and the uh, desires that they have towards the end of their previous body or previous life. So the combination of these two things, karma, the gunas that people have, and the desires. So another question that comes is if everything is decided by karma and desires that people had towards the last when they were leaving the body, then what is the role of Lord Brahma into this? I mean, he is a creator, right? So what is he creating then? Uh, so because everything is happening anyway as per the karma and the desires that people have. So what I was hearing was, and that Lord Brahma is kind of he gives the structure to the entire creation. So, for example, based on the karmas and the desires people have, so Lord Brahma says, okay, so based on your desires and karma, you are fit to go into one of these 14 uh, planetary systems. So he sends them to which one they will go, earthly or lower planetary system, higher, depending upon where we all or the living entities have desires and uh, how their uh, karma was in the previous life. Another thing that Lord Brahma does is that he assigns different bodies depending upon how the desire was, how the karma was. So somebody gets ant's body, somebody gets elephant's body, somebody goes into a tree, depending upon how they were aspiring or what they were thinking at the end of their birth, end of their previous body. Similarly, Lord Brahma also defines different roles. For example, when Prajapatis are there, or when Rudra is born from Lord Brahma, then he tells them, okay, this is your role. You are Prajapati, your role is to increase the progeny. Or you are Rudra, your role is to do destruction when the time comes. Then he creates other roles like Rudranis who will go and be with Rudras. So like that, he defines different roles for different within the creation. He defines different roles and then allocates people to those roles. So that is also done by him. Then he also creates demigods. So what he says is in Vedas, if we read, yes, there are demigods. So the one way of, if somebody is not able to, or people are not able to directly go to bhakti, then these are the demigods. You worship them, make them happy. They will give you something, and then that will eventually lead you to uh, on the path of devotional service. So these are the things that Lord Brahma is uh, primarily responsible for. That is what he does. So when we say uh, living entities are how living beings, here the question, living beings, how they are created. So this is how they are created. By Lord Brahma defines the roles or responsibilities and the different activities that people have to do. But then creation happens based on the desires and what they are thinking, their karma, etc. So this was one question that Maharaj Parikshit was asking, and as a part of preparing for this, I heard some of these explanations at different places. So uh, that is one. Another question which is here is how the infidels appear in the world. Now, what are infidels? So here, uh, if you look at this, Pashandya, infidels. So another word which you might know is in Hindi, it's called Pakhandi or Pashandi in Sanskrit and infidels in English. So question is, how do infidels or Pashandis come in existence in the world? So, so first of all, what is Pashandi? So we might remember one of the offenses when we are chanting is to consider that other other gods like Brahma, Shiva, they are equivalent to uh, Krishna or Vishnu. That is an offense. Those who think that this is what is actually the case, that Supreme Lord is equal to Brahma or Shiva, they are called Pashandis. And there is a reference to this. I heard the reference. It comes from Bhagavatam itself. If somebody needs, I can find it again and share the reference. At this time, I don't have the reference written with me. So those people are called Pashandis. Now, another there is another reference from Bhagavatam itself on how Pashandis came into existence. So what I was hearing was that so Maharaj Prithu, who was the Shaktives avatar of Lord, so he had done 99 Ashwamedh yajnas. He was doing the 100. Now, Indra, so he gets jealous and he is little anxious as well for his position. Indra is also a title. So what we have heard is, and what I was reading was that people who are those who do 100 Ashwamedh yajnas, they become qualified to become Indras in their next lives. So they can become Indras. They become eligible to become Indras. So now Prithu Maharaj, he was doing his 100th Ashwamedh yajna, and Indra was obviously a little concerned. He does 100 Ashwamedh yajnas, he is going to replace me as Indra. So what he does is he goes and steals the horse of the yajna. So he is stealing the horse in front of Maharaj Pitu. He is also sitting there. Atri Muni is there who is conducting the yajna. But Maharaj Pitu cannot get up because he is in the yajna. So, and Atri Muni says to one of the sons of Maharaj Pitu, okay, go catch him because he is running with the horse of the yajna. So he goes chasing Indra. So what Indra does is he starts changing forms, start taking different forms, different identities on the way. So sometimes he became a sannyasi kind of form, but still a lot of irreligiosity was there because of the thought in which he was there. So Maharaj Prithu's son saw him. So he told Atri Muni that I cannot kill him. He has acquired the form of a sannyasi. So he said, no, don't worry, because he is stealing. So go and still attack him. So he goes. Then Indra runs and disappears. Then Indra again comes the second time, and he again starts going with the horse because he is his intention is to stop the yajna. So he comes again and starts taking the horse again. So again, Maharaj Prithu's son, his name comes Vijitashwa. His name is Vijitashwa. Now his name becomes Vijitashwa because he wins the horse finally. He gets the horse back from Indra. So first time again Indra is taking the horse. So he goes and chases again. And this time Indra goes to another form of those Kapalis and all who have head of human on top of their stick. So those are Kapalis. So he takes that form. So again, Maharaj Prithu's son, he again asks, what do I do again, Atri Muni? He says, you still chase him and get the horse. So he goes again. So like this, it happens 2-3 times. Finally, Maharaj Prithu gets angry. So he says, now I'm going to kill Indra. This has become too much. So he goes, and then Indra disappears, leaving the horse for good. So these Pashandis, now this is where we started. Who are these Pashandis and how did they come? So all these forms that Indra acquired, these Kapalis and others, these were called Pashandis. These became Pashandis because they did not have very strong religious intent. So they became Pashandis. This is how Pashandis came into existence. Now another question is, within this set of questions, how did the unconditioned living entities exist? So this unconditioned living entities, now we all know these are all in Vaikuntha Lok. So if you go to Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 15th chapter, where there is description of the kingdom of the God. So now this comes when Lord Brahma is explaining to Diti, because she is very upset that that the sons that she is going to have are going to become non-religious. So then Lord Brahma is telling the story. So Lord Brahma says that when these 4 Kumaras, they are going to Vaikuntha, then this is what they see. And what he explains is how the living entities, unconditioned living entities, how they live in Vaikuntha. So there is a lot of description in that chapter, 15th chapter. But some of it is the women in that in Vaikuntha Loka. So they cross the 4 Kumaras. They cross the 6th gate. So within crossing all the 6 gates, these are the things that they see. So what they see is that all these unconditioned living entities who are there, now women, they are all very beautiful. And then all the tiles and there is no tile, there is all marble on the walls and everywhere. And what they are doing is, they are like goddesses of fortunes, but they are sweeping the floors there. And they are very happy. And why they are doing it is because if they are doing it, probably Lord will have a glance on them, or they will get to see the Lord. Because there is no dust for anything in Vaikuntha Lok. Still they are doing it. Similarly, all these men who are there, who are exactly like the 4-armed form of the Lord, they are all in that form, the 4-armed form, blackish in complexion. This is how they all are. So even if they have very beautiful wives, like goddesses of fortune, the entire time what they are doing is thinking about how to serve the Lord. The bees, the flowers, everything there on Vaikuntha Loka, they are all the time thinking about how to serve the Lord better. So here the question was, explain how the unconditioned living entities exist. So this is how unconditioned living entities live in the Vaikuntha Lok. Now there was a lot of description which I omitted because of time and everything. Similarly, there is also there was also a description of how somebody gets to go to the Vaikuntha loks and how somebody becomes eligible, how somebody becomes ineligible. Those things are also there, which I'll not go into at this time, looking at the time. Now, one thing which I thought we should hear is, can these pashandis, essentially these are, is there a way in which these pashandis can be liberated or delivered? So the description of all that comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and how Lord Chaitanya delivered them, and what was the way in which he delivered them. So I'll talk about it briefly. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's South India tour, when he was going to the south of India. So when he was going, millions and millions of people were coming to take his darshan, and they were all becoming Vaishnavas by just listening to him, by looking at him, by looking at his form and everything. Now, lot of other people were also there, like Pachandis and the impersonalists and a lot of others who were not very happy looking at the way this was going. So there is a description that some of them, some who were followers of Buddhism, they came. So a very known Buddhist, the spiritual leader came along with his students. And he wanted to show them that, see how I can argue with this Vaishnava and defeat him by logic, so that we will prove that we are the best and not him. So the Shastras started, he started with the 9 philosophies that Buddhism has and everything. And Lord Chaitanya, and they were the words which are used, khand, khand, and a lot of other things. So by logic and argument, because one thing which Lord Chaitanya also says is that stay away from these people. If you don't even want the shadow to fall on you. But still, because he wanted to show people how to, deliver even worse people, he still went into argument with them. So logically, he broke all their arguments. So they got the spiritual leader, he got a little embarrassed, so he ran away. And finally, they thought, okay, what should we do? So they thought, okay, let's put some contaminated offering or prasad to him, bhog to him, contaminated food, and we'll contaminate him, and then we'll say that, oh, you ate contaminated food, so now you are not a Vaishnava and all that. So they went with that big thali with a lot of offerings and everything. So and it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, so when they offered it to Lord Chaitanya, before Lord Chaitanya could do anything, a big bird came, picked up the plate of offering, and the grains which were there on that plate, they fell onto all these shishyas of this. Shishyas were also, or the students, they were also Pashandis, because they also were following Buddhism and they were doing their own thing. It fell on them, the contaminated ones, contaminated grains. And the plate, which was a heavy metal plate, you would have heard earlier, the plates and all used to be solid metal, not like ours of plastic and all. So that plate, the bird left that plate from the top. It fell on top of the head of this spiritual leader of the Pashandis. And it was like 1 or 2 inch deep inside. And he fell unconscious. So this happened. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told them how to get away from this. And what he said was, the only way that, and the most potent way for all of you to move away from being a Pashandi is to chant and chant the glories of the Lord and do chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and sing. So this is how Lord Chaitanya showed how even Pachandis can be delivered. So looking at the time, I think I'll stop now. I was not thinking that this verse and the purport will have so much content. But then when I started listening to how other devotees have spoken about it and the details that have gone in. Actually, there is a lot that can be spoken on these 2, 3 topics. And anyways, uh, so if there are any comments or any thoughts, anyone is realizing anything, please feel free to share. Okay. So,
Prabhu, can you do the? You can read the translation for me because I just missed it.
this one? Okay,
Yeah.
Prabhu. The translation says, please also explain how, merged in the body of the Lord, living beings are created, and how the infidels appear in the world. Also, please explain how the unconditioned living entities exist. So, these are the 3 questions Parikshit Maharaj is asking. How living beings are created, how infidels appear, and how unconditioned living entities who are in Vaikuntha Lok, how do they live? So, this is what we touched upon in the short discussion that we provided.
Yeah, and I have heard once that there is a unconditioned souls and elevated souls in this material world. Even now they are existing because of this world is moving. Others would have been devastated, but not like that. So it is a very wonderful message is given in Bhagavatam, and you have given also very nice explanation. So what is the how do we find those who are unconditioned and elevated, liberated from this material bondage of life, those souls and associate? How do we find them?
It's a very big question. Only Sukhdev Goswami can answer this. Okay, anyone else? Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll close the discussion.
How do we find, what is the question, Prabhu?
Question is, how do we find the unconditioned living entities which are in this material world?
Prabhu can answer it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pashandi. I mean, I was just thinking, bro, when we were explaining about the Pashandi, right? Yesterday, when we were reading the Bhagavatam, the word came. So, Pashandi. So, there also Prabhupada was talking about people who equal Lord Brahma and Vishnu. I mean, actually, the verse says that Pracheta's prayers, they say that I mean, Lord Vishnu takes that form of Brahma, Vishnu, and right, for the purpose of creation, maintenance, and destruction, right? So then Prabhupada says, so it says like this. I mean, they are not equal, right? I mean, living entities, Brahma. So he explains there. Somebody thinks that they are equal, then they are partially a less intelligent, foolish person. Okay, I mean, many of the people in the world, right? I mean, of course, before we even understood the process from Prabhupada's things, I mean, anybody, I mean, less intelligence, right? So, I mean, the people doesn't know what is right, what is wrong, right? Primarily from that perspective.
Yeah, and when I was listening to this explanation and all, I was immediately remembering, oh, this is one of the offenses in chanting that we should not be doing.
Yeah. There are comments. I think a nice elaboration, Prabhu. Cannot unmute so text. Vishidhar Prabhu. Kalpatara Mataji said, yeah, she has stood up now.
Okay, I think we can also stop, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhya kripa sindhu bhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaः.